Welcome to the Help or Be Brave podcast show, where we have great ideas on how you can help save lives. I'm Amy Ford.
And I'm Jessica Russo.
And I'm super pumped because today we're talking to my friend Stephanie Carter with Concord Church. And I met Stephanie years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. Our daughters, our two oldest daughters, are in the same grade, and they became super close friends. And so then we connected and then went to lunch together. And then through that, she started an Embrace Grace group, which we're so thankful for. And she leads it herself. And but then she had this amazing thing that she started doing with these weddings. And I cannot wait for you to hear
I
this.
want to go to one.
I know, right? Well, let's bring her on. Hey, Stephanie.
I'm so excited. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so honored and pleased. Thank you so much again for having me again.
Yeah. Well, so for any of you guys that have read my book, Help or Be Brave, you might remember the story about Stephanie and her husband, Brian Carter, and how their church, Concord Church in South Dallas, how they are helping single women, single men. Some of them could be single moms. And I actually put this in the prevention chapter just because, to me, what you guys are doing to help with these weddings, it's like it could possibly be preventing unplanned pregnancies or unexpected pregnancies because they've made the decision to grow a family and made that commitment, to spend the rest of their life with a spouse. But I personally have met so many Embrace Grace moms that are living with their boyfriends, and a lot of them say, well, I would love to have a wedding someday, and I don't want to go to Justice of the Peace. And so until then, we're just going to keep living together, but yet they're just barely surviving the day. Like there's hardly any extra money. It would take a long time, to save for a wedding. So the way that you guys are loving on these moms, dads, or just men and women are amazing. So why don't you tell a little bit about what you guys do and how did you or Brian, I don't know who had the original thought. How did you guys have the thought of doing this at your church?
Well, it started, like you said, my husband, we pastor in South Dallas at Concord, and I went to OU, he went to Oklahoma State. We graduated in 98 of May. We got married in June, but leading up to our wedding in June, we were living together for like a short period of time. And I remember I called my parents to be like, hey, Brian got kicked out of his house. That's a whole nother, it would be like another hour.
That's another podcast show.
That's another podcast. And so I remember he was like, why are you calling your dad? And I was like, because they pay my bills. And I just remember my parents were like, they were kind of familiar with the situation at his home. And so they were like, okay. And then I remember my mom pleaded with me. She's like, Stephanie, please do not get pregnant. The wedding is like, months away and so on. And I was shocked because my mom is I come from a religious background, but long story short, his brother found out that we were living together, and he paid for him to get an apartment. And he was just like, y'all, you guys can't, let me help you, Brian, get out of this situation. And so fast forward to, being a senior pastor and preaching about relationships. And my husband, after the end of the sermon series, basically said, hey, meet me at 2:00 if you want to get married, or our church will pay your month and last month's rent to get out of your situation. Because he sympathized with them. And it was just such a powerful, we've had the wedding 3 times. And each time we just really impact couples. I think it's a lot of young couples, but we'll have older couples who just out of convenience and just out of money, financial reasons, that they're living together and they just end up in this. But my husband wanted to give people a way out. so that way out meant that you would come to counseling at our church. We have premarital counseling. You would go through the process. You would be assigned a mentor couple, and then we would provide a wedding for you. We pay for the dress. We just wanted you to focus in on your classes and so on, but we pay for everything. It's donated. It is such a great time at our church. These weddings are better than my own wedding,
Right?
and it is absolutely amazing. Down to the ring, we have people who donate their time from hairstylists to makeup artists,
Wow.
you name it. It is a community effort, but it's such a strong witness to just the community and just Christians and people who are not Christians, that the church sometimes is viewed as very judgmental. And here it is, my husband sitting up telling how we were living together and how he had his brother help him get out of that situation. Even though we were getting married in 6 months, and everybody can justify why they live together, but it's still, my husband wanted to give people an out.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a healthy out. We've had everything that you can imagine, from girls who were participants in Brace, who participated in the wedding. And it's just so, I think the beautiful thing about the ceremony is, one, the community comes together, but two, our church, we do this like on a Sunday evening, and our church and just the community comes out and packs out our church to see this beautiful ceremony.
That is so incredible.
Yeah, and just to give people a visual, it's several couples all at once, right?
Yes.
They get married at the same time.
Yes, it is several couples. I can't think of the numbers, but we've had everything from 15 to 20 couples per each time. It grows each time. And then we've also had couples that have gone through it and said, we're not ready to get married, and we'll help them move out and, of course, provide counseling and so on. But I know you're saying 15, 20 people. How can it be a beautiful event? Listen, y'all, it is so beautiful because each bride has her own moment when she walks down the aisle. And that's if and she walks down there by herself. All lights hit that main aisle when she hits the aisle, and they're serenaded by.
She has her moment. She's got.
Yes, she has her moment.
Cue the lights.
Yeah, cue the lights. Cue the music. There are tears. It is such a beautiful event. It's one of my favorite things that we do. I think the last wedding we had, I want to say, probably was in either 2018 or 2019. So we do it every year. Yeah, pre-COVID. Yeah.
Goodness.
So.
Wow, that is just so awesome. And I think I read that maybe another church, and I can't remember what state it was, that kind of picked it up and is starting to do it too, just because they saw you guys. But I just hope and pray that tons of churches, jump in and look for ways to get involved. And I love that you use, like, everyone can have a place in this. Like, everyone can have a part, from hair, from makeup, probably food, flowers, rings, dresses, like seamstresses. I mean, there's just so many ways that people can serve during this event, which people love. That people love to feel like they're,
they're contributing, they're impacting lives.
And
I think the most powerful thing is the mentor couple. That couple stays with them and just really kind of nurtures them through the process, because with marriage or with just anything, you just can't do it alone. Yeah. And why not put in a great support system? I'm thinking of the wedding, and I'm thinking of the reception, and just when we go to the reception, every bridal party has like their own little table. They have their own cake, and then we have this super grand cake, and just, it's the of all receptions. I'm telling you, it's nicer than my own wedding, but it just means so much more just to see their families come up to us afterwards, and they're just so thankful and just so appreciative. Like, thank you so much. Thank you for being transparent and just showing us what the church is really, what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
So powerful.
I'm sure too, with all of the counseling, because you guys put them through counseling ahead of time. And like you said, it sounds like there's been some people that along the way, they're like, you know what, this kind of showed us that maybe we aren't, compatible, or that we don't really want to move forward with a relationship. And that's so cool that y'all are like still, where they're like, we'll still help you. We'll still help you like get into a new place and start, a new season pursuing other endeavors, and not wasting time just with a relationship that just isn't meant to be or isn't, And I feel like too, and so you lead Embrace Grace as well, Stephanie. So I know that you have seen this as well. It's like you mentioned the word convenience, and that is for sure something that the girls, it just feels more convenient. You got 2 incomes versus 1, but yet maybe for whatever reason, one of them don't want to make that full commitment, and they're just scared or whatever. But even having the counseling is so huge, because a lot of these couples, or at least the Embrace Grace side of things, they can't afford counseling. They can't afford premarital counseling to try to dig in and figure out what their next steps are. So they just kind of stay in this cycle until things fall apart, or until they finally decide, okay, let's get married, but years down the road. And so you guys are kind of helping accelerate, like, what do you want to do here? And what are your plans and goals? It's so amazing.
We have the perfect pro-love project for you to invite your friends and family in on. You can host a Share the Love event in your home, church, or business. At this event, you will assemble love boxes, and then you get to hand deliver these beautiful boxes to your local pregnancy center. Love boxes were created to help single and pregnant women be brave and choose life. And you get to be a part of it. It's easy. We ship all of the items to you along with planning tips for your event, and you get to be a pro-love hero in your community. To learn more about how you can host, visit www.embracegrace.com.
Yeah. We feel really, really blessed that different churches that do reach out to us across the country want to know how we do it, and we welcome that and send that out. The last wedding we had, we were featured in the Wall Street Journal, and it was the New York Times, and it was just such a. We were a little nervous first because we didn't know what kind of angle it was going to give us, but it really was gracious, and it was just such a blessing just to see it featured. And it is definitely a highlight. Look, when I get off this podcast with y'all, I'm definitely going to be like, hey, when are we going to do it again? I know not anytime soon, but
I want to come.
I know. Well, definitely if you have Embrace Grace girls in there, like, please let us know, because I know we would. Like, our partners and people will want to give, donate, and help in whatever way. Like, they will be all over this. It's so awesome. And
listen, the funny thing is, when my husband gives that charge, members will see like couples, walking, of course, back to their cars in the parking lot, and they'll be like, "So we're going to be there tonight. Come on, this is enough already. The pastor challenged us. We already know. Let's go."
Wow, I love it. Such a beautiful testimony of God's goodness and love, to just embrace those that are around us and walk with them, do life with them, mentor, like, love them into empowering them into God's will for their life.
Yeah, for sure. And so even with you and leading Embrace Grace, like, what do you see? This whole podcast is about, like, how can people practically and tangibly help women be brave, or men be brave in their walk, whether they're a single mom or single and pregnant. Like, with you leading Embrace Grace, like, where do you feel like the biggest needs are, or where the church can help in more ways? Like, I know where you are, or you're in an area where there are a lot of physical needs with these moms. And like, where do you think, like, if there people are just listening right now, like, from your perspective, where could the church, and the church meaning the people, make a difference in these girls' lives? Like, how can they empower single moms?
I think one thing, as you know, as we're not out of the pandemic yet, but I think one thing that has really come to light is just mental health. Yeah. How people's mental health has been affected through this, and then just getting the help they need, especially for the children. How this pandemic has affected children is a lot. I did not realize just the anxiety, the depression that our children are facing. But I definitely would say mental health therapy, how we can definitely help, how the church can help. Yeah. I mean, our church yeah.
Well, I know like with the church that I go to, I know that they have like everybody kind of does it different ways and some people don't do anything at all. But I know with our church, they have kind of a budget where they have specific counselors that they outsource to and, you know, kind of have like accounts with them where they have a certain amount of money that they can spend to help people with counseling. But one other creative way that we've noticed here at Embrace Grace that we didn't really know about before a couple years ago is there's a Christian university here in town in our area, because I know this is a national audience that's listening, so this is more in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but there's a Christian college called King's University, and so they have a lot of people that are getting their degrees in counseling, and they need, for the practicum, you know, they need hours to serve and to be able to have that hands-on experience, and it's oversaw closely by the professors and things like that. And so we have a working relationship here just at the national offices, which has been so helpful to have these women and men that are about to graduate. They come to our office and give these single moms free counseling, or their children, you know, and free counseling. It helps the people that are about to graduate, and it helps these single moms so much because that's just one more thing that is hard to find a good Christian counselor, plus one that is free,
in their budget.
especially, or in their budget. Yeah. So I totally agree. Me and Jessica actually have been talking about that over the last few weeks. It's like mental health is like this kind of trendy word, or, you know, people taking mental health days, but it's a real thing, and people are really feeling it right now. And you're like totally talking our language, because we've been talking about even prevention with pregnancies. Like, how do you prevent pregnancies? Well, a lot of times it is emotion, or it's mental health, it's emotional healing, you know, and breaking up wounds and past wounds and all kinds of this, all through counseling and through ministries and things like that we can help prevent unplanned pregnancies by helping these women recognize patterns, you know, that they may be in because of real trauma or things that have happened to them. And we wish that, we've been saying this literally for the last 2 or 3 weeks. We've been saying a long time, but for sure the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've been saying like the church has to do more here in this area. And even talking about sex as well, talking about sex and talking about mental health, like these things we can't just like ignore as a church. This is a huge epidemic and we have to do something.
Yeah, I agree. You know, our church, we offer free counseling, and we're also, you know, a lot of families, you know, the pandemic didn't affect their finances, but some it did affect their finances. So just even offering financial classes, just things to just make you stronger, not only as a parent, but just as a provider as well. Just, you know, giving them the support that they need in this season.
Yeah. Yeah.
And providing them the tools so they can be successful.
Right. I know. And it's not cookie cutter. We always say that, you know, it's not, we wish that you know, you could write a book and be like A plus B equals, you know, a woman feels empowered and everything's fine, but it's all just so Holy Spirit led, you know, in different seasons of what people are needing. And I just love that you guys are finding what the needs are and then helping meet the needs in real time instead of staying back 20, 30 years ago and not really adapting to what the needs are today and culturally. Like, you guys are just, you're on it, and I love it. Y'all are our favorites. Like, we are so thankful for you, and
really, y'all are incredible.
Yeah, and I'm just praying that people are listening, that they're inspired to help in some way. And maybe it's just someone that's listening that's not necessarily even a church, but maybe you have the means to help someone that you know, a single mom and single dad, or just a man and a woman that are living together. They want to get married someday, but they're just whatever, different life things that are holding them back. And maybe they do need counseling, and just helping connect them and resource them, like you said, like knowing what's out there and what opportunities are out there to help them get on their feet. And then knowing, even I just feel like posting things on Facebook and stuff like that, people want to help. They want to get involved. And so it just takes someone that's courageous enough to say, hey, here's a need that I would love to help try to fill. Does anyone want to do it with me? And people want to get on board. Like, it's contagious.
Yeah.
Like a wedding for 20 people. I mean, that's so amazing.
It really is. It really
Yeah.
is cool.
I feel we feel real blessed that we're able to offer that. And I'm just, as I'm talking to you, I'm just thinking back to everybody's faces and just families, just how happy they are, and their children, because some of them have children, and to see their children like, oh my goodness, look at my parents, is such a blessing.
Oh my goodness.
So cool. Well, Stephanie, like how can people like follow you on Instagram and wherever else you want people to follow you on?
Oh, sure. Okay, so I'm on Instagram at Miss Steph Carter, and my church is called Concord Dallas. Concord Dallas, it's concorddallas.org if you ever want to stream, because we're in the streaming stage. But anyway, it is so good to talk to y'all, and thank y'all so much for everything that y'all are doing across this country for moms and for single moms and just everyone, that they don't feel like they're alone.
Oh, thank you, Stephanie. We so appreciate it, and we will talk to you soon.
You know, as she was talking about this magical day of all these couples and the church coming together, like I just got this vision in my head of like these mentors in the church, their spiritual mothers and fathers, and how they got to celebrate this beautiful wedding of their, you know, spiritual sons and daughters, and how heaven was just rejoicing that the church came together to celebrate the unity, the holy unity of these couples that are just in love.
Yeah. And if you want to see some of the pictures, I wish there was like a specific place I could send you. But like she said, I think it was a New York Times article. If you just Google Concord Church, church wedding for single people, like you'll find it. And there's pictures on the articles. There's several. There's also a Dallas Morning News article as well that I know, and maybe a few more. So you can dig around and see the pictures. It really is cool. It really is creative and over the top, and it's meeting a real need. And I love it. Like, how awesome that God downloads these creative ideas. And
I know.
People say,
who would
yes,
have ever
let's
thought?
do it.
And that each couple has their own table with their own cake.
Yeah.
And then there's the giant cake. Like,
and Brian just
how big
knows
is the
how
cake?
much it meant that his brother was like, I'll help. Like that was what kind of inspired the whole thing. So
oh
cool.
my goodness. And it totally made me think of like an Embrace Grace baby shower, of the church just gathering around and saying, we love you. We want to celebrate you. And it's like Christmas morning.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I hope that gave y'all some ideas, and there are more ideas at helperbebrave.com. You can go there and follow along. You can start there with our podcast show. Obviously, you're listening right now. If you're listening through iTunes or Spotify, then please like us and give us a good rating. And then also for YouTube, if you prefer to watch us, you can watch us on YouTube at our Embrace Grace channel, and just type in Help Her Be Brave, and you'll see all of our shows for this podcast. And also on the website, there's a quiz you can take if you're still not really sure where to start. Take the quiz, and it'll give you custom ideas right to your email box that is perfect for you and your strengths and gifts. And also, buy my book, Help Her Be Brave, Discover Your Place in the Pro-Life Movement. It has over 300 ideas of how you can get involved in the movement, with lots of inspiring stories, and you can even read it with friends and host a book club as well. So lots of information and things to do on helperbebrave.com. Definitely check us out, and we will see you next time.